Salvete Ayubiu Spectatores Optimus. Welcome to the city of Rhodes. In our last episode, I was designing and creating the equivalent of the Roman Forum. But in this episode, I thought it might be quite interesting to recreate a form of the Circus Maximus from the city of Rome also. In this episode, obviously, it's not going to be an exact copy of the Circus Maximus, which did exist in the city of Rome, but I think it's a nice facsimile that I'm going to be working on. Now, in this episode, I'm going to take a little bit of a shortcut because I have already or had created this previously in another city on a different map. But I was able to save the procedural object, which I didn't realize you could actually do until recently. But I've managed to actually do it this time and import it into this city. So while I'm not starting exactly from scratch here, I will be starting from really basic level and just adding a lot of detail into the actual city. Interestingly enough, the Circus Maximus, although if you go to the city of Rome today, there isn't a great lot to say, really. It's essentially just the sort of the foundations and a few extra outside kind of pieces that remain in present day Rome. But the actual footprint of the actual Circus Maximus still exists. But you're not going to find any of the former grandeur on a scale of like the Colosseum that you would for the Circus Maximus. It just doesn't exist. But originally, like I said, the Circus Maximus was the entertainment venue even in the city of Rome. And still was actually the largest entertainment venue even venue in the city of Rome. While everyone knows, of course, about the Colosseum, that was actually quite a bit smaller. The Circus Maximus is estimated to have accommodated in the region of between 150 and 250,000 people. The ancient city of Rome, its population was around 1 million, so that's a sizable amount of spectators that could be accommodated in this one entertainment venue. So rather impressive. So here I'm just sorting out the seating arrangements. I've already sunken down the lower elevation and area of the city. So now just kind of going around. I'm not exactly 100% happy with the shape of this arc of seats. So I'll probably return to this later. But it does kind of shape out. It's given me this basic shape where I can build upon and improve from. So yeah. I thought as I'm building this, I could kind of read out a little information of the Circus Maximus. Just for educational sake, I mean, it is an inspiring building, or was a very inspiring building from ancient Rome that I'm somewhat recreating, and will certainly be the largest stadium-esque structure in the city of Rhodes once completed. So here's some information about the Circus Maximus. Tradition had it that the first circus on this site was built by King Tarquinius Priscus, I believe, to mark the place where the rape of the Sabine women had been perpetrated. However this may be, the Circus Maximus was used for chariot racing and can be considered as the largest building ever put up for entertainment purposes. Indeed, when the circus attained its greatest size in its heyday of the Imperial Age, it measured no less than 600 meters in length and 200 meters in width, and could accommodate up to 300,000 spectators. So yeah, far more than I even thought, by about 50,000. The last of the major reconstructions of the circus was undertaken by Trajan at the beginning of the 2nd century AD, though it was later enlarged by Caracalla and restored by Constantine, while Constans, as late as 357 AD, had it adorned by an Egyptian obelisk attributed to Thutmose III, which thus came to make a pair with the one bearing the cartouche of Ramses II that Augustus had erected at the centre of the Spina. And the Spina, although I haven't yet created it at this point in the video, the Spina is this long, narrow section which goes in the middle of the actual arena, which then creates a circuit for the chariot racers to go around the area, essentially. And in ancient Roman times, the Spina could be used for a multitude of different things, like plays or other kinds of performances that you may put on the actual Spina. Where was I? The chariots had to complete 7 times around the circuit before reaching the finishing line. The seating, which is caved, I believe it's called, was divided into 3 sections by horizontal gangways interrupted on the side that faced the Palatine by the Great Imperial Box, which was in direct communication with the palaces on top of the hill. But a part of the seating, presumably the upmost rows, must have been sustained by wooden structures, because the record surprises the frequent collapses. One such disaster killed 1,112 spectators in the time of Antonius Pius, and another, under Diocletian, no less than 13,000 people. That's enormous. That is an enormous disaster. The Circus Maximus had a long life. Races were still being organised there in the 5th century AD, the last spectacle to be put on being the one sponsored by Totila, king of the Ostrogoths in 549. The 2 obelisks were unearthed in 1588, and Pope Sixtus V had them removed and re-erected. One in the Piazza del Popolo. If you've ever been to Rome, it's a very, very nice area, definitely recommend it. And the other in front of the side entrance of St. John in Lateran, where they can still be seen today. So that's some nice information about the actual Circus Maximus. So here in the video, I'm trying to put some seating on the upper level, which I think would be kind of reserved really for the really wealthy or the elites in Rhodean society. And while I do like the way that they look, the problem I'm having is that there's some clipping issues where they're coming out of the other side. So I think I will probably end up removing them later, because of these clipping issues, and just replace them with something that can be constructed without that kind of issue. So I've got the actual footprint sorted in the middle, but now I need to go around and just increase the height of the terrain, so it's not so jarring, because otherwise I'm going to have to put up these big ramps and steps, and it's just not going to look nice. So yeah, this can form part of the elevation of another hell that I'm going to be creating in a few episodes near this, where the Emperor's Palace will be located. Because although I'm not trying to do an exact copy of ancient Rome, I do want it to bear some characteristics. I want it to be like a nice facsimile even of the original ancient city. Yep. So just going around now, just adding some of these lovely Rhodean walls as part of the stadium, and just giving a lot more detail to the overall structure. Yeah, and as you could probably notice by now, that the stadium itself isn't exactly symmetrical, so I'm running into quite a few problems here with the symmetrics. I don't think that's a real word, but I'm going to go with it. Of the stadium, and do the best I can. Really, I probably should have thought things out a little bit better with the design. And the mathematics, but I'm here. It's started. I'm just going to run with it and blame any issues on the poor architects in Rhodeus. I mean, if like 13,000 people died in this horrific seating collapse in ancient Rome, I can sort of get away with it. That's a really terrible way of going through it. Maybe I'll edit that out later, or maybe I'll just keep it in just for shits and giggles. Pardon my French. And I've just probably insulted the French. Oh well. Oops. So yeah, just trying essentially to like mass produce these walls to cut back on time, but I mean, because of the sheer scale, I can't zoom out far enough to work out whether or not the fit is well, because it has to go in a very precise angle, and I can't see that, so I just end up essentially just doing this a piece at a time, which, as I'm sure you can appreciate, took a long time. I had earlier questions when I first constructed this, how I essentially built it. So how I built it was a mix of different things. You have these really nice Roman, I think they're Roman, bridge pieces that you can get off the workshop. I can't remember who makes them, but if you just type in Roman walls, he has a lot of nice Roman assets, and all I did really was just modify the scale and the shape a little bit with procedural objects, and then just copy and pasted, setting up this whole stadium footprint, and then just built up from there. The actual terracotta roofs and these sections you can see I'm putting in now. I actually created these myself, but I mean, I'm sure on the exchange there are pieces that could be somewhat similar to this. And the actual steps are also from the workshop. I think pretty much everything else that you can see here is from the workshop. So attainable, definitely. And this area is going to be the Emperor's box, so to speak, where the Emperor would be coming to the Circus Maximus and watching all the chariot races. Now, on my old Circus Maximus, I didn't actually add these columns to the exterior of the arena, mainly because it's just so time-consuming doing these individually. However, I think the effect is well worth it, and I'm glad that I end up doing them here, because I think it just looks more real or realistic, I guess, to have these kind of these huge columns. So yeah, just copy and paste is basically the theme of this entire video, is just copy and paste. But you know, the effect is worth it. So as you can see here, you can see a lot of the Rhudaean flags just kind of floating in the air. Now that's not because they've discovered anti-gravity, it's because the columns are actually missing from inside of the structure of the arena, so I will be working those soon. But yeah, as you can see here, there's too much clipping on the outside of the structure. So yeah, I mean, I could either replace them with a procedural object and just, you know, mess around with the scale and do that, or I can find something alternative, which I may do, because you know these stone steps at the bottom of the arena, you know, that's basically for the poor people and, you know, the undesirables. I'm going to hell, but essentially, you know, just for the common people. Whereas the upper level is, you know, for, you know, the people with money, essentially. So I might go with more fancy seating, I suppose, and see what happens with that. But I mean, it could go either way, if I'm completely honest with you. I feel like if I put in like stone seating at the top, I think the theming, and I preserve more of the kind of ancient feel of this stadium. Whereas if I go with something more modern, yes, you could kind of see the class divide between the strata, basically, of society in the city. But I also feel like it might be a little bit too jarring. But I'll look at that in the next episode and see what happens with that. But as you can see here, I'm putting in the actual columns that should be just hidden paste with the procedural objects from the last map from the original arena that I did. But here you can see them, so they are being rebuilt, so to speak. as you can see, the roof needs to be adjusted a little bit, brought in, because too much of the top of the column is actually sort of exposed. So I need to look at that, readjust the roof, bring it in just a little bit, and it should look good. Now, I want to call these like Regal gates or Ascot gates. I've used them previously for the mausoleum, but I think this is just a no-brainer when it comes to choice of fencing. So I'm going to just place this around to stop people essentially getting in without their tickets. But they do conform to the ground, which is okay in some circumstances, but not in others. So I'm going to have to look at those for certain parts of the arena just to kind of straighten them out. Whether that's the ground or whether I can change it to a procedural object, which would stop that from happening, I don't know yet, but it's something I will definitely look into. Yeah, so just placing these just around. But also making sure that the 3 entrances on the north, south, west and east sides of the arena are left open, which will allow people in and out of the arena to find their specific specified seats. Here I'm beginning construction on the Emperor's box. So just exclusively for the Emperor to watch the Chariot games, which is the Emperor box is the largest in the actual stadium, as you can see by comparing the other 3, and will contain more kind of grandiose theming, I guess, when I get round to it. But yeah, I'm looking on the exchange for throne or throne seed, but I've not been able to find that yet, so I may have to create something by myself, but we'll see. And here just messing around with the size and scale of the terracotta roofs to fit the dimensions of the actual Emperor box that I've got in my head and just making a reality. So as you can see here, I'm just revisiting these different elements that saved in the procedural objects from the original save. I'm kind of correcting them because they just weren't correct. Making sure that the structure is looking the way that I want it to. Yeah, and now I'm just searching for the right kind of pieces, especially the side walls now. Then I'll move on to the columns, steps, just the basic structure before moving into the finer detailing of the Emperor's Box. Congratulations if you've made it this far. I'm about halfway through this video. I never expected this to have taken this long to have done, but I mean, it is probably the largest structure in the whole city, or at least a huge contender for it. I say that, but I'm also thinking of the Emperor's Palace that I've yet to build, so I imagine that's quite a large one. But I think in the subsequent videos I'm going to have to watch the time management, because I really want to keep these videos no longer than 20-25 minutes, and this monstrosity has turned out to be almost an hour, if not more than that, actually. Yeah, so thank you for sticking by and watching this unfold. This took a very, very long time. I'm talking hours and hours to build, and it's still not finished. I mean, I'm about 90%, 95% of by the time the video ends of where I want it to be, but I've still got lots of detailing both inside and around the arena to do. But yeah, I'm overall I'm really happy the way that it's turned out. As you can see, the Emperor's Box is turning out really quite nicely. I've got that kind of steps coming down so the Emperor can come and get a much closer look at the chariot races, or he could retreat up to another level if he so chooses, or she chooses, and have enjoy the ambience, but not be chained to the throne chair essentially while watching the games. I mean, it could be a place to go to relax as the chariot races get ready or have finished the races. And if the view displeases the Emperor, then he's got another 3 private boxes if he so chooses to go and watch the races from there. Yeah, so I'm reasonably satisfied at this stage, the direction and the progress that I'm making with the Emperor's Box. So now that the essential part of the Emperor's Box has been completed, I'm now going to move around and work on the other 3 boxes around the arena. As you can see, I've used these monocle walls for the edges of the chariot circle. I really like those monocle walls, and I've used them repeatedly throughout Rhodeus. I just think they're really classy, and I think that the asset creator did a really nice job with those. So you'll see me routinely use those throughout the game, as well as the Garnia lampposts. I really I want to say Jenks, but I've completely forgotten the person, the asset creator who made them, but they are absolutely lovely. So kudos to you, whoever you are, because I've completely forgotten, but thank you so much. They are really, really nice nice assets. Now, in ancient times, I would have probably presumed that these boxes would be for the elites, or maybe another box that the Emperor might want to use. But kind of in modern Rhodeus, I thought that I would use these as eatery areas, cafes, bistros, whatever you might want to call them, for people to come and to eat and watch the chariot races. or other form of races that may be going on within the Circus Maximus area. And I need to come back to these a little bit later because I want to create like a stairwell within them to allow people obviously from the lower level to gain access to the upper level, because at the moment it's a little bit of a mystery how people get up to the top. So I want that to be somewhat addressed. But yeah, that's a small thing and very easy to do. So here it's just a little bit of a continuous cycle of tweaking and further tweaking to make sure that everything kind of connects well and nicely together. It's a bit irritating, but you know, eventually I get it, and it looks a lot more pleasing now, especially now that the roof beams connect well together. It looks more of a cohesive structure now, so I'm happy with that. Now, a little problem, as you can observe, the angle is a little bit off here, so the longer these stadium seating is extended, the narrower it is going to be on one side, and I can't be having that. So yeah, delete, redo. And I want to make sure that the sizing and the distance between the edge of the circuit and the actual first steps of the seating, the correct size and same distance as the other side of the actual arena, which you can see me doing here. So you can see here that they're a little bit off. They need to be around here, so that's a lot better. So that will give me kind of a starting point to correct some of these issues and make sure that they, at least appear better and much more appropriate, and the size and scale and shape look good. Yeah, so this wasn't very successful in terms of arcing. I could get the essential, like the arc somewhat good, but yeah, it was pretty janky, if I'm completely honest with you. As you can see, they're all sort of multiple different kinds of heights. I'm like, no, this is just not going to do. Even if I was to kind of play around with them and page up, page down, it's not going to look pretty. So I think I'll just mass delete and just do the entire thing by hand. At least, even though it takes a longer time, it'll look much nicer when it's actually done. And I can do it step by step rather than trying to just select individual steps from this mass of steps. It's just it's not good. Now eventually I want to add a few more arenas, amphitheaters and things like this to the city of Rhodeus, because just like in the ancient city of Rome, you had a multitude of these different things. So that's definitely something I want to add. So you might see somewhat variations of the Circus Maximus in later videos. But I think they're going to be on a much smaller scale. I really don't want to go larger than the Circus Maximus here, because the thing is enormous. Here you can see that I've added some entry doors. These will be for the chariots and the horses to come through, so they actually enter from underneath the Emperor's box, which offers a really nice view for the Emperor to see the chariots before him or her. Now just adding some columns, working out what kind of structure I want to go on the top. Originally I was going to go with this flat piece, but I thought actually no, that looks kind of, it's a nice color, but I think it looks kind of boring, so I went with the terracotta roof instead, because I just think it looks far prettier, and I think it just it goes well with the rest of the actual arena. So I'll just tweak that, make sure that the scale is good, and I think it looks all right. I don't think it looks awful, but who knows, I might come back to it and just rip it out and add something else instead, maybe some arches or something, which might be quite cool. Here I'm working out where the center, the spina essentially is going to be in the middle of the stadium. I need to make sure that you know, they're suitably far apart and somewhat central as much as I can do. Now, if you recall from the reading that I did earlier, you had at least 2 obelisks in Circus Maximus. One is in the Piazza del Popolo, I think it's Del Popolo, which you can see in present day Rome. So here I'm just going to add 3 of them. I've got 2 of similar size and 1 from the, I think it's the Vatican, which again, if I remember correctly, actually came from the Circus Maximus. I want to say yes. I want to say that it was relocated in front of the Basilica. I'll have to come back to that and make sure that's actually correct, but I think that's actually true. I'm sure I read that. So here, like in Roman times, I believe they had like the whole thing, the whole spina was marble, for a multitude of. It was basically like a modular space that the Romans could use for different kinds of performances. I was thinking of replicating that, but then I also thought, well, you know, I think times have kind of changed, and maybe those kinds of performances would be better suited in different kind of venues in Rhodeus. So instead of going with this kind of marble spina in the middle, I went with this kind of grassy, green space in the middle with like kind of small shrubs or very, very small trees, because it's basically like this little oasis surrounded by kind of like gravel and or sand, I should say, where the chariots would be racing. So a lot of the middle here is somewhat reminiscent of the actual spina that might have existed during Roman imperial era. So yeah, I drew a lot of inspiration from photos and depictions that I've seen online and in books, and I think I did an okay job, you know, creating that kind of feel for the spina in a second. So I'm just going around now, just making sure that you know, it's center, and I will continue to make sure that, you know, it looks good in the center. You know, things are centered and doesn't look horrific, because I don't want that after all this time. Isn't it just amazing that the moment you add this kind of sand around the base of the stadium, it really just brings the whole thing to life. Quite remarkable. And here I'm looking for decals, so I can add some details to the actual the gravel. You know, I want to create like tracks on the ground, maybe for the chariots, and maybe some stains, and you know, just, you know, make it a little bit rough, a little bit dirty. I don't want it to be brand new looking. You know, I want it to look like it's had a bit of wear and tear despite maintenance over the centuries. It's still gonna it's still gonna look as though it's used, and people still come to watch chariot races or horse races or whatever you like. It's still got to look it's got to look old. It's got to have that feel of time and ancientness. And I realise that's not actually an adjective, but yeah, it's got to have that sense of antiquity. There we go. That's a nice word. So I can't recall where I got these from. I want to say it's the workshop. Again, I want to say Ascot, and maybe they're part of the Ascot, but I really like it because you can have different coloured kind of teams of horses. Which is perfect for what I want to create there, which is some horses with chariots. I found a chariot asset from I think it's New City, but it must have been 20 minutes looking for this asset in the find me thing for the props. I typed in chariot, wooden, ancient, old, cart, and it just was not coming up no matter what I searched for. Eventually, I had to do a little shortcut on Steam, which was to kind of like right click and inspect element, and then found the number of the asset in the Steam folder. So I went to the Steam folder, found the City Skylines kind of asset folder, then the downloaded workshop thingy number. And then it was something called like Bigger or Brigger or something. It was like, well, I would never have found that in a million years. So it's a good thing that I knew how to do this. So you'll see me shortly. In a few minutes, I'll be adding that to the horses, and then using the Move It mod to pick the different kind of color. Now it's a shame that it doesn't exclusively apply just to the chariot itself. It applies to the entire thing, so unfortunately I've ended up with like blue wheels and red wheels. I would prefer those to have been separate, but at the moment beggars can't be choosers. That's the only chariot thing that I could find on the workshop, so that will be fine for now. As you can see at the moment, I'm going through the upper seating and I'm just mass deleting because I'm just not happy with the clipping. Excuse me. So yes, I'll return to that probably in the next video, Circus Maximus Part 2, and then sort out that entire issue. But I figured I could have a little bit of fun here by creating these eateries, or at least the seating and some plants for the eateries at the top, and yeah, go with that basically. adding these fences to the entirety of the bottom of the stadium, making sure that or trying to make sure at least that the three entrances on the north, east, south, and west side of the arena are open for entry. So it takes some time to do these individually, but I think it's worth it. I think the effect looks really, really nice. The only thing that bothers me a little bit is when the terrain kind of dips or is elevated and the whole fence kind of like juts up. But like I said, I can return to that later and see what I can do, either modify the terrain or maybe change it to a procedural object, and hopefully that that will resolve the whole conforming issue. But we'll get to that. We'll see what happens. So I'm really quite satisfied with the arena itself, and now I'm laying the foundwork. The foundwork. That's not even a real word. Come on, Gareth. So here I'm really very happy with the way the arena is turning out. So I'm laying the groundwork for the I guess piazza, like a really large piazza area around the arena, because of course if you have in the region of 200 to 300,000 spectators coming to an arena, you're going to need a lot of space around that arena to accommodate all of those people. They can't just come out onto a side street. It's not really possible. So this way it's going to provide a big open area for people to kind of spill out into, so people can head towards where they parked, mass transportation, or to something revolutionary in any kind of European city is to actually walk, which seems to be a bit of a foreign concept for some cities that won't be named, or countries even that won't be named. But yes. So I'm just going to create and correct more terracotta roof pieces, but also make sure that they align properly with the columns inside inside the arena, and make sure that they're the same kind of height. I really need to use the align heights option a little bit more in game, and I think that's something I'm definitely going to be returning back to in part 2 of Circus Maximus, and also the monocle wall pieces that I've used for the boundary of the chariot circuit in the middle. They've kind of conformed to the terrain a little bit, so they're kind of janky, and I don't want that. So in my next episode, I think that's one of the very first things that I will be doing, is making sure that it's straight, they're all aligned at the same height in the middle of the stadium. So that's definitely top priority. Yeah, so you can see here that changing the color, it changes the entire model, not just the actual wooden chariot part itself. It changes even the wheels. So it's not perfect. It's not that great, but the model is beautiful. But I'm not keen on the entire thing being recolored. So that's something I might have to look into at a later date, but we'll see what happens. And now I'm looking for different kinds of obelisks to put on the outside piazza area, but I'm just finding I can't really use these because these are too big, they're too small, it's not really the thing that I want. But then I'm like, well, if it's big or too small, then you've got procedural objects, so you don't have to accept that. Just make them bigger, which is exactly what you can see I'm doing with here, and it makes such a world of difference. Really like that, and I can't wait to design this piazza area. I've got so many little ideas that I want to create, and I'm going to place this arch here at the one side of the arena, and then I'm going to put some kind of barrier around it, like you see near I think it's the Arch of Constantine. I think it, or it's Titus. I always forget those two. That you see near the Colosseum. Yeah, so that's something I'm going to go with. And on that note, I think I've made a lot of good progress today. I shall see everyone in the next video for hopefully part 2 of Circus Maximus. Thank you for watching. If you want to, like and subscribe.